All right, y'all.
Quick.
Chat. We back with another banger on YouTube. We are watching the one and only Jimmy High Roller. I used data to find the closest NBA player to Stephen Curry in the entire NBA. It was Easton. Let's get into it.
Off the top.
Now, JB doesn't like Jimmy High Roller.
I hate Jimmy High Roller.
Apparently, he brings up fake stats.
It's not fake stats. It's dumb stats. It's like you'll see.
Oh, well, let's
Your
see.
head. Of all the active players currently in the NBA, who reminds you most of Steph Curry?
Instantly, what pops to my mind is Trae Young, Damian Lillard.
I feel like
who pops in for you?
See, whoever you thinking he's gonna be wrong because he's gonna pull up these dumb stats. I feel like it's gonna be like, Darius Garland, like someone like so out of pocket.
Darius Garland.
It's gonna be someone you never think of. Watch.
Sure, some of the names that come to mind are Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, if he was 9 inches shorter. Try all you want, but the overwhelming and correct answer is no one. Even as the catalyst to one of the
biggest moments in
basketball history, there is still nobody that is quite like Steph in the NBA today, or ever for that matter. The greatest shooter of all time by a country mile. As devastating off the ball as he is with it. The skills to carve up defenses and score from anywhere, despite being a relatively undersized, unathletic guard. By now, nearly a decade after the long ball took over the NBA, it was assumed that Steph's influence would spawn an entire generation of copycats. And although the game has changed, there's still no one that plays it the way he does. While aimlessly browsing through some stats not too long ago, it came to my attention that a 37-year-old Steph Curry once again led the NBA in three-point shooting last season for the 10th time in his career. The league is still trying to catch up to where Steph has been for the last 10.
See, what is this stat? What is this stat?
I thought that shit said percentage. Like, no way he's shooting above 50. This is just how many three-pointers per game.
Made?
Yeah, so 4, like averages, 4.
Years. And with each passing season, the reality becomes up to where
I feel like
James Harden made 4. James Harden made 3. Bro, no. Bro, I mean, like, on a good game.
I feel like
average, though?
I can make 5 shots a game, 3-point line. Let's be real.
Steph has been for the last 10 years. And with each passing season, the reality becoming more painfully obvious that Steph isn't a product of the league's evolution. The league's evolution is a product of him. And as long as Steph can do things that no one else can do, it may be a while before we find a worthy successor. But why is that? In fact, with a game that has become the blueprint for modern-day guards, why has there not been a single player in the NBA who plays like him or can do the things he can do? This series of questions led me down a long and exhausting rabbit hole of what I believe to be the most extensive look into this topic. Who is the most similar player in the NBA today to Steph Curry?
It's just a fun vid, bro.
I don't like him.
It's just a fun vid, chat. What JV got going on,
I don't like this guy, bro.
He must have
Today's video is sponsored by just from that just code Jimmy. Can you accurately compare anyone to one of the most unique players in basketball?
Shout out DraftKings though, sponsor me. Hey!
When put to the task of finding the most similar player to Steph Curry, the first instinct would be maybe a long-range sharpshooter. But these comps never quite work. The best three-point shooters in recent history are far too one-dimensional in offense to be compared to Steph. Look for perimeter players that can generate offense like Steph, and you'll find a lot of freak athletes, ISO-heavy guards, and players
This dude Grant just said the closest play style, in my opinion, was Jordan Poole.
That's a good guess.
To fucking Stephen Curry? Bro, Jordan Poole plays more like hot sauce. You probably don't got real ball knowledge.
Aren't willing to run to hell and back like he does every other possession to get a bucket. This 2020 Bleacher Report article cited Mark Price, Pete Maravich, Steve Nash, and Jerry West as the most comparable players to Steph. All of them solid comps if they hadn't retired decades ago. CraftedNBA.com has a great tool called Doppelgangers, which
what even is this website? Has anyone ever heard of this website? Like
extensive batch of metrics
give the man a chance.
Players throughout the NBA.
What are these metrics, bro? I just don't understand it.
At the results of a player's game without including the method in which they got those results.
The method in which they got the result. Isn't that the whole play style of Stephen Curry? The how he gets it to it? Whatever.
This is an important distinction. For example, Steph and LeBron both averaged the same amount of points last season.
Nah, Jordan Poole gonna have a breakout year.
They scored those points.
No hate towards Jordan Poole.
Different. In our experiment, the method is just as important as the results. And so I decided to take matters into my own hands. And after countless hours of research, metric-based.
Do we really think this dude did countless hours? What are you even looking up for countless hours? Like, what are you doing, bro? I don't understand what you're doing. Like, who?
Analysis and data crunching in an attempt to answer this question.
He's not doing all that, bro.
An almost definitive conclusion on the most similar player to Steph Curry in the NBA today. And the answer may surprise you. First, I had to reduce the entire NBA today. And the answer...
That's Damian Lillard. Or KD. That might be KD.
Too tall. It looks...
He's bald.
Exactly. So,
That's got to be KD.
He looks strong, though.
You're right. He got some tone on him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Dame.
Answer may surprise you. First, I had to reduce the entire league down to players who had even an ounce of resemblance to Steph.
Yeah, maybe not so ball.
Floor generals, undersized guards, sharpshooters, off-ball merchants, great scorers, crafty perimeter players, players who love the three ball, and because, why not, his own brother. Eventually, I was able to narrow the list of players included in this experiment to about 75. Of those 75 players, here are the ones that eventually scored the highest in similarity.
Grant just said, bro, got no sleep, no food, no water, no nothing doing this research. Gotta respect the grind.
He's not doing research, but what is he do? What? Tell me like 2 things he's looking up to find this.
Bro, we haven't even, we're 4 minutes into the video,
I just
bro.
don't understand what is his research. Like,
we haven't got into it
He got
yet.
some FUBU website. And was like, yeah, I spent countless hours on here.
Now, how exactly did I quantify similarity throughout this process? First, I had to determine the metrics in which I wanted to measure. And here are those metrics. Gravity, usage and creation, shot selection, portability, passing, defense, athleticism, dominance, shooting ability, and play style.
Okay, I agree with everything, but why the fuck is gravity?
So you're telling me you have 10 like things, like, you know what I'm saying? And it took this guy hours, bro.
Yeah, probably an hour each thing. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 10 hours.
10 isolated metrics that factor in each and every aspect of Steph's game. Finding the similarities between him and
yes, he is,
player was the easy part. For example, take passing, which can be measured fairly accurately with passer rating, a metric that measures how frequent, effective, and efficient a player passes the ball. Steph's career passer rating is 6.9. That's pretty good. Jalen Brunson has a passer rating of 7.13. That's even better. Klay Thompson has a passer rating of 3.48. And that's not so good. To quantify just how similar these two players are to Steph in terms of passing, we just need to figure out how much their passer rating deviates from Steph's. In this case, Jalen Brunson's passer rating only deviates by 3.2%, while Klay Thompson's passer rating deviates by 49.5%. This would give Brunson a passing similarity score of 96.8%, and Klay Thompson a similarity score of 50.5%. By using this method of measurement, I calculated the similarity score of every player in our experiment across all 10 previously mentioned categories. Then I tallied up their score to find the most similar player to Steph. The player with the highest score after evaluating all 10 categories is, of course, the player who shares the most in common with him. So now you know the method. Let's see the results.
So
now the first factor we're going to be taking a look at is Steph's most valuable skill, his shooting ability. In a game where deciding who is the best at anything can be a tall task, Steph has completely removed any room for debate as the greatest shooter of all time. A skill set so valuable that he altered the course of basketball with it, and a skill that we can measure using crafted NBA
This dude's just sucking off Curry.
Do you think...
No.
Because, like, listen to what he said.
Altered the course of basketball with it.
He said he altered the course of basketball, right? Do you think the shooting would be where it's at if Curry never existed?
Yes. 100%.
I think so, too. Because even when Curry, like, don't get me wrong, Curry revolutionized the game. Like, he made three-pointers, like it was like a back-down league, dunk on you, hey, type league. And then Curry came in and started splashing that shit, made the young hoopers, like, want to shoot. But, like, I feel like in 2016, even a little bit before that, everybody was kind of shooting.
For real.
Like I don't know, maybe it's because I was young in 2016 and that's all I could do. Yeah, he was like the first one. But like I feel like
at the time.
Yeah, but at that time it was shifting towards shooting even without Curry. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain that, but like I feel like it would still be where it's at without him. Because it was becoming a numbers game. You know what I mean? Like more like threes are greater than twos.
That is true.
So I feel like the game, he revolutionized it, don't get me wrong. But I feel like the game would still be where it's at without him, if that makes sense. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for that shit.
and a skill that we can measure using crafted NBA shooting quality metric. It's a stat that combines shooting percentages with spacing and shot value to find what they describe to be the most accurate shooters in the league on a scale from 1 to 100. For some perspective, no player in NBA history has ever scored a perfect 100 out of 100 in shooting quality for an entire season. Except for Steph, who's done it
What is this website? I don't get
But
this
throughout
website.
his career, Steph has maintained an average shooting quality of 94.6. And the most similar
means?
player to him
Exactly.
in the NBA today
This
in
is a
terms of
Fubu
shooting
stat.
ability is none other than his former Splash Bro, Klay Thompson, who has a career average shooting quality of 85.7 and a similarity score of 90.6%.
I'm not getting where we get these numbers from.
Followed
Exactly.
closely
See,
by
you're
Desmond
understanding
Bain,
now.
Peyton
He
Pritchard,
just be sounding
Buddy Hield,
smart.
and Seth Curry. Keep in mind, although I will only be displaying the results of 20 to 30 players per category, each individual score is being factored in and will be revealed at the end. But just as important as Steph's ability to shoot the ball is where he's shooting the ball. 10 years ago, there were 3 players in the entire league who averaged at least 20 points per game with a 3-point attempt rate of at least 40%. Volume scores off of volume threes, a shot diet that was essentially prohibited unless you were an absolute flamethrower. But thanks to Steph, times have changed. Because last season, there were 24 players around the league who averaged at least 20 a game while attempting at least 40% of all of their shots from beyond the arc. Steph laying out the roadmap
Right there.
No, if he
for
says
modern
Wimby
day
is a
shooters,
close player,
with about
Stephen Curry,
15% of his shots consisting
never
of
watched another
layups,
video of
21% of his shots in the mid-range, and over half of all of his shots throughout his career being three-pointers. And the most
he has
similar player to
18%
Steph
from
in the
long
NBA
distance.
today
That's
in terms of
crazy.
shot selection is Tyrese Halliburton, with shooting tendencies that virtually mirror Steph's and a similarity score
Really?
of 94%.
Okay, I see where
followed
he's
by
getting this. He's
Anthony
saying
Simons, Jordan
he's saying like each percentage from each spot, how similar are them to Curry. I see what
Yeah.
he's saying now.
Poole, and Patty
Interesting.
Mills.
Tyrese
One
Halliburton.
thing I
Why
want
is
to point
the
out
second one Anthony fucking
That's what I'm
Simons?
saying.
Chat.
here is just
What
how
the
many
hell?
young players compare well to Steph in this category.
See, now he says
Guys who
young
watch
player.
Steph at a
Now
young
he said
age
young
and
player, so I
have
don't know
skill
if it's
sets
gonna be an
that were
old
more
player
than
or young
likely
player. I don't
influenced
understand.
by
'Cause now
Steph.
this list is
Which
just
brings
young
up the
players.
next category
I don't
and
understand.
one of the
Besides
most
Kyle Lowry.
indicative measures of similarity from player to player. And that is play style. What role they play on offense, where they find the most value while they're on the court, and their habits both on and off the ball. Now, quantifying a player's
Since
play style
Murphy,
is tough to
mentioned.
do. What do you measure, and how do you measure it? Well, on craftednba.com, within each player's profile,
Let
there
us
is
see.
a
What
is
breakdown of their
craftednba.com?
usage by play type. These plays range from ISO possessions, pick and roll as the ball handler and the roll man, the post, off-ball cuts, handoffs, screens, and spot up. These 8 play types are essentially the 8 major different roles a player can play on any given possession.
Okay.
And we can use them to get some insight into the habits, strengths,
okay.
and
So this is
weaknesses
basically like
of
their
each
habits.
individual player. In the
That's what he's
case of
saying.
Steph, the 4 most revealing characteristics of his offensive game are ISO possessions, spot-up shooting, possessions coming off of screens, and pick and rolls as the ball handler.
Okay.
Now, if we take these 4 play types and search for the player with the most similar usage across all 4, then the player that has the most similar play style to Steph is Devin Booker, who has
can see
eerily
that, I can see
similar
that.
usage to
We're
Steph
talking about,
across
like,
these
play
4
style,
play
I can
types,
see that,
and
actually.
easily the highest similarity score in this category of 84.8%, despite not necessarily being a player you would associate with playing like Steph. The next most similar players are Emmanuel Quickly, CJ McCollum, Jordan Clarkson,
He's played for the
and
Knicks
Cam
before.
Thomas.
I think he's on
For the
the
most
Raptors.
part, quick movement shooters who
I like
play
Cam
below the rim
Thomas.
and operate best in set
Sir
actions
Curry?
as opposed to isolation. Play styles that are necessary thanks to our next category,
No, he has to go
athleticism.
defense.
Unlike many of the top guards from his era, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, John Wall, Steph's lack of world-class explosiveness has kept his game for the most
So he
part
can't be
on the
athletic.
ground and away from the basket. According to B-Spark, a metric that uses results from athletic tests such as the ones included in the NBA Combine to determine a player's
okay.
speed,
I see where this is
power,
from.
agility, reaction, and quickness, Steph ranks in the 28th percentile in terms of athleticism in the NBA, or at least he was at the time he was drafted. And in terms
Like
of
he's making
athleticism,
70%.
the most similar players to Steph in the
Athleticism?
NBA
Less,
today
like
are
lower is
D'Angelo
better
Russell
for
and
athleticism.
Jordan Poole,
No,
with
he's
nearly
saying like
identical
28
B-Spark
No, he was saying like 28%. 28% of the NBA only. Like,
Yeah, low.
yeah, that's low. That's low.
No, like 28% of the NBA, as in like the top 28%.
They didn't say top 28%.
percentile in terms of
Oh, he did
athleticism.
say
That's what I'm saying.
percentile, shit.
In the most
I feel like he'd be in
Curry?
the, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that neither. 28
I mean-
percentile?
Similar players to Steph in the NBA today are D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Poole, with nearly identical B-Spark ratings to Steph's and similarity scores of 99.9%, followed by Peyton Pritchard, Luka Doncic, and Cade Cunningham. Now, our next category has been one of the more underrated aspects of Steph's game throughout his career.
Maybe his endurance, though, like, you can't let
his
Curry be
athleticism
fucking
and size fall short, Steph makes up for it on the defensive end with elite IQ, quick.
Bro, are we serious right now? Are we serious right now?
Makes up for it in the defensive?
What are we
by his
talking?
IQ?
Bro, this is what I'm saying, bro. I can't watch this video, bro.
Jimmy, I don't really agree with that. I know Flight's gonna glaze this, but I'm not Flight.
This is cherry picking.
Let me hear that one more time.
Rated aspects of Steph's game throughout his career, and that is his defense. Where his athleticism and size fall short, Steph makes up for it on the defensive end with elite IQ.
Like, he literally just put Curry in the 28th percentile in the NBA, and then said his athleticism lacks. Like, where his athleticism and speed lack.
He's better
Bro,
than
his IQ from defense. I feel like Curry don't play defense. I mean, y'all remember the game 7? He ain't want to guard Kyrie. You know what I'm saying? Like, we being real. He didn't want to guard Kyrie in the finals, bro.
Quick
his
hands
defense is
and
crazy.
adding over
Quick
20
hands.
pounds to
I've
his
never
frame
seen Curry
throughout
get a
his
steal.
career.
What is his stat?
In fact,
Where
according
is
to
his play at?
Crafted
I've never
Defensive
seen that.
Plus Minus, an all-in-one advanced metric that measures how valuable a player is on defense, Steph is actually a net positive on the defensive end.
I believe he's a net positive, but it's not crazy. It's not crazy.
Is his defensive versatility. A target for switches and mismatches against larger guards and combo players, especially as the league continues
to foul. That's a foul.
Where Steph does struggle a bit is his defensive versatility. A target for switches and mismatches against larger guards and combo players,
no way he just saw that in the highlight.
as the league continues to get bigger around the perimeter.
I thought you
Take
said
these
he
two
does good on
metrics,
large
crafted
guards.
defensive plus minus and defensive versatility, and we can find out how valuable Steph is on defense.
I'm not saying Curry
and which
don't
player
play
is most
defense,
similar
but,
to
like,
him in this
it's not the
aspect,
best. It's
which
not
in
Gary
this
Payton.
case is Donovan Mitchell, with a similarity score of
Mitchell's way better on
96% on defense,
Yeah.
followed by Kyrie
Irving.
Yeah, I can see Kyrie. Austin
Desmond
Reeves.
Bane's really good at defense, though. I don't see that.
I can see because I feel like James Harden would be a close one.
No, he's not that bad on defense. I'm a James Harden glazer. Stephen Curry got a little bit.
We talking about like Rockets. Jamal Murray, I can see Jamal Murray. Brzezinski, yeah. Van Vliet, yeah. Drew Holiday's on this list?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Chat, Drew fucking Holiday. Are we serious? I don't know about that one. Cheap viewers.
Austin
I'm not buying
Reeves
those.
and
I don't care about
Murray.
no fucking
But
views,
whatever
bro.
Steph
I'm a
doesn't do
YouTuber,
on the
not a
defensive
streamer.
end, he makes up for tenfold as arguably the most valuable offensive player in the history of the league. With his usage and creation, Steph has spent his career as one of the largest offensive generators in the league, both carrying offenses and playing within the offense. And to measure this, we can use 3 different metrics: box creation estimate, offensive load, and usage percentage, where the player most similar to Steph will undoubtedly have to be an ultra-offensive engine who can create opportunities not just for himself, but for his team. So it should be no surprise that when it comes to usage and creation, it is James Harden who is most similar to Steph in the NBA today, with a similarity score of 98.9% and career metrics that are virtually identical to Steph's across the board. The next most similar players are Damian Lillard, LaMelo Ball, Ja Morant, and Cade Cunningham. Pair Steph's ability to create offense with his shooting, and you have a recipe for his game-breaking quality as a player. His gravity. It doesn't matter where he is or what he's doing. When Steph is on the court, he is a threat from anywhere at any time, disrupting defenses with and without the ball and forcing them to get sucked into his every movement. Hence the term gravity. Or as B-Ball Index describes it, how much attention and resources a team uses trying to defend a player while on and off the ball. You can see it in action every time you watch him play. As defensive schemes can be small guard trying to track him around the court, send double teams when he's 30 feet out, and at times completely neglect other players altogether when the Warriors are running options for Steph.
This is a cool
It's
stat
easy to see,
learn.
but tough to measure. However, B-Ball Index makes an attempt at quantifying a player's gravity by using a few different metrics like double team rate, shot location, team shot quality, and tracking data with their on-ball and off-ball gravity metrics. Stats that are rated according to percentile relative to the rest of the league, and where Steph has career averages in the 95th percentile in on-ball gravity and nearly the 100th percentile in off-ball gravity, making him not only one of the most lethal on-ball offensive threats in the league, but by far the most valuable off-ball threat in the league throughout his career. And
definitely.
among the players we are evaluating, the one with the most similar gravity to Steph is Damian Lillard, with a similarity score of 95.8%, followed by Kevin Durant, Tyler Hero, Cade Cunningham, and Devin Booker. But gravity holds a lot less weight if you aren't a great passer. As the defense collapses, how well can you find opportunities that open up? And despite not playing the traditional point guard role throughout his career, Steph is an excellent passer, particularly in transition, in the pick and roll, and out of double teams. Of course, a good metric to evaluate passing skill is passer rating. This metric, similar to a few others, is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best possible rating. Now, throughout his career, Steph has had a passer rating of 6.9, and the player most similar to him in this metric is Dennis Schroeder, who has a career passer rating of 6.9 and a similarity score of 99.5%. The next most similar players are DeJounte Murray, Alex Caruso, Brandon Podziemski, and Damian Lillard. In this category, it's not the floor generals, but rather combo guards who are the most similar to Curry. Add all of these traits up, and you'll find why Steph is not just one of the most lethal offensive weapons of all time, but also one of the most portable. Steph has the skill set to thrive in any system around any players. It's one of the reasons why the Warriors have continued to find success throughout his career, despite featuring an array of different players over time. Steph's value is virtually independent of his situation. And there's actually a metric that makes an attempt to measure this adaptability called portability. This metric collects data like passer rating, shooting ability, ball dominance, and usage, as well as defensive versatility, and calculates how portable a player is within any given system. In other words, how well would a player fit if you dropped him into a team with 14 random players? This metric also being on a scale from 1 to 10. Steph has a career portability rating of 9.18, one of the highest in NBA history. And the most similar player to Steph in this regard is Mike Conley, who has the same exact career portability rating as Steph with 9.18, 100% similarity.
So if he's 100%, are we saying if Mike Conley gets Draymond Green to set those screens and to play defense for him and shit, is he turning into Steph Curry?
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like to me too. Like if he has Clay, Draymond, and KD, okay, I'm gonna take away KD because if anybody has them around them, they win a championship.
Exactly.
But like Clay and Draymond, we put them around Mike Conley. Are they winning the championship?
No, that's not it. He said if you put him into a team of random 14 or something.
But if we put
11. Because he said if you threw in...
Okay, so if we throwing in like random... If we put Steph Curry in a random locker room, I think Mike Conley's going to be a better fit than Curry for any locker room, to be honest.
Followed by Desmond Bain, Tyrese Halliburton, and Jalen Williams.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Which brings up our last and most polarizing category, dominance. How good at basketball Steph is. A player can shoot like Steph, move the ball like Steph, play the same position as him, but if they aren't dominating games like him, how similar to Steph Curry can they possibly be? And to measure dominance, instead of looking at accolades or accomplishments, we are going to look at purely how great they have been in their time in the NBA through the lens of an advanced metric, crafted plus minus. Now, this metric is an aggregate of 10 other advanced metrics. It's essentially an all-in-one of all the all-in-ones. It's just what we're looking for. And Steph's career crafted plus minus is 6.45, the 8th highest in NBA history. The closest player to Steph within our player pool in terms of dominance is Chris Paul, with a career crafted plus minus of 6.59 and a similarity score of 98%, followed by James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Luka Doncic. And with that, we have now assessed all 55 players across all 10 categories. A process of
that was kind of a useless stat.
Exactly, yeah.
That was useless. Yeah, like we didn't need no fucking dominance.
And he said within
the fit depends on how much they change their offense to accommodate Steph. Teams can change on offense to better fit the players. I have no clue what you mean by that, Grant. I'm gonna be honest.
Search and number crunching that took me far longer than I'm willing to admit, but it was all worth it. Because in a league where Steph remains a unicorn, I think with very high accuracy, I have narrowed the search for the most Steph-like player down to one. After scanning a field of 75 potential matches across 10 different categories and dozens of metrics, the most similar player to Steph Curry in the NBA today is Damian Lillard.
I agree.
Which, as a Blazers fan that watched this man for over a decade, completely adds up. In the end, Dame finished with an average similarity score of 82.71% across all 10 categories, finishing just ahead of James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. All names that make sense, but for completely different reasons. Although there is truly no one like Steph in the NBA, both past and present, Damian Lillard is about as close as you're going to get the eye test and in skill set. And if we look at the results from this experiment, you can really get a full scope of all of these similarities, especially in gravity, passing, usage and creation, and shooting ability. The only categories he didn't score well in were dominance and playstyle, which makes sense. As great as Dame is, the peaks of Steph's career have been the highest any player.
I feel like Dame plays like Curry
Steph has a sizable gap on everyone in the player pool in this department outside of Chris Paul, Harden, Durant, and Luka. And in terms of playstyle, Dame works in isolation much more than Steph does.
Okay, Some of this he does create his own shot.
If you were to ask me who is the most similar to Stephen Curry, the first thing the first thing I'm looking at though is the playstyle. And if he's not a good match with playstyle, how, like, you know what I mean? Like, he threw in other stats, I feel like.
Yeah. I would say Trae Young
Steph competing in a dunk contest, but as his career has progressed and his explosiveness has declined, their games have become more similar with time. Lillard now less reliant on his athleticism as his skill set has gotten deeper and his range much further. Dame also prefers to initiate offense through pick and rolls as opposed to Steph, who will initiate the offense but works more off the ball during these actions to get open for a shot later in possessions. Tendencies that bring out the biggest differences visibly when you watch them play. But outside of these few differences, their games are strikingly similar in comparison to other players around the league. When I saw the results of this experiment, I couldn't help but to think of one moment during the 2021 All-Star Game, when Steph and Dame were going back and forth trading shots from half court. If there is one man who can go blow for blow with the greatest shooter of all time from 40 feet out, it's Damian Lillard. A player who's hit so many clutch bombs, he has a celebration for it. And although one of Steph's superpowers is his off-ball brilliance, a clearer look into their similarities comes in moments when Steph really leans into his abilities to take players off the dribble and create his own shots. The key to their similarities being that they are both two of the greatest shooters of all time, but they aren't just shooters. They're offensive machines, where most players who are capable of shooting at an ultra-elite level tend to neglect alternative scoring opportunities. Steph and Dame, although both being relatively undersized, are incredible at getting inside, collapsing defenses, and scoring around the rim, as well as creating open looks for their teammates. Very rarely do you get a player who is just as efficient and willing to score from inside 6 feet as he is from 26 feet, and almost never do you see a player that can do both at historic levels. I do think over the years, Steph has essentially market-corrected Lillard. Everything Dame can do outside of maybe ISO, Steph can do better. For years, I watched defenses break their brains trying to figure out how to...
We got our answer, I'm gonna be real. We got our answer.
Just skip through, make sure there's no more stats real quick. Just skip. Oh, there's one right here.
Final results.
Another guy in the league that was capable of the same thing. Now, here are the full results from this experiment. With the 75...
Okay. Dame.
Trae Young only got 71. We're putting Austin Reeves over Trae Young.
Alex Caruso got close.
CJ McCollum over Trae Young. Desmond Bane over Trae Young.
This is according to, like, closest to Curry, though, not like...
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm choosing Trae Young over...
Who's closer to Curry?
Damn near... Jamal Murray might be closer. Devin Booker. That's it. I ain't gonna lie. I'm putting Trae Young top 7.
I don't know. Some people on this list just don't make sense to me.
Total players involved condensed to the 55 with the highest scores. And there's a few interesting things going on here. First, the top 3 finishers were Fred VanVleet, Emmanuel Quickley,
he just goes
and Desmond Bane, who all finished in the top 10. Similar on the court. Players who are great shooters, create a lot of offense, have high gravity both on and off the ball,
are about Chris Paul over Trae Young
and aren't free
compared to Curry, bro.
Inclusion.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know, Chad. What do y'all feel?
I don't like Jimmy, bro. I don't like Jimmy. I told y'all this at the beginning of it. I was hating on video, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Nah, I fuck with Jimmy Viz, though. I like how he be like. I like how he puts it together. But don't mean we gotta agree. You know what I'm saying? We can agree to disagree.
I like to pick his categories. He do the 10 hours of research and then see what the results gonna be.
Yeah.
Cause like, what is gravity? What is like? He just added some stats. You know what I mean?
But hey, all in all, Jimmy, great video.
It was a good video.
It was a good video.
I can't lie.
Come on now, it's Jimmy Howard.
It was a good video. Like, it was good quality.
Yeah.
You know, but I like Mark Christian but better. If we're gonna be real.
Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe on this vid. Peace.
I got my chain, I'm trying to hit it something. Went on that mission with them diamonds. Still I move the finest. Ball still a hard. If you ain't catch it, bitch, rewind it. Put that shit right in front the house, no, I know about it.